study about activities of SPM, which is Software Project Management, SPM Framework, and Management Spectrum. So we are going to be using the given reference for all the slides. So let's get started. Activities of software project management include the activities like measurement, project estimating, risk analysis, scheduling, tracking, and control. Now each of these activities, let's look into more detail. The first one, as you can see on the screen, is measurement and metrics. Software metrics should be collected for a process and a product to make it more effective. Now there are two terms which come into picture, something called as process and something called as product. Now what is a process? All the activities which are undertaken during a given project to get the final output is called as process or are called as processes. So the sub activities which make up a given project are called processes. Now what is a product? Product is the final output which is obtained from a given project. So at the end of the project, after completing a project, whatever desired output you get in the end is termed as a product. So basically, software metrics should be collected for a process as well as for a product. Now, process metrics are collected during a project and after a project. And what is the purpose of collecting the process metrics? Is to examine the quality and productivity of a given project, so that you come to know what is the quality of a given project and how productive it is. Now process measures are normalized using lines of code, something called as lines of code, so that the data collected from various different projects can be compared very easily. So what are lines of code? The lines of code which are required to build a given project will be different based on the applications. So lines of code is kind of used like a matrix, a measurement for which by using you can compare various different projects. Like for example, one particular project can have 30,000 lines of code, whereas another project could have 50,000 lines of code. So you require some kind of measurement or some kind of metrics, and lines of code can be used for that purpose. So various different process metrics can be normalized using this particular lines of code. So each process will have so and so lines of code. So process 1 can have say 1000 lines of code. Process 2 can have 2000 lines of code. Process 3 can have 3000 lines of code. So in total, you will have the sum of all the lines of code which makes up the given project. The another metrics used is product metrics. Now product metrics basically measure the technical characteristics of the software, so that we can know what is the quality of a given project. So this particular product metrics can be measured using some kind of models which are used during analysis, design activities, or testing of data, so that you can come to know what is the quality of a given product. And also it can highlight what are the technical characteristics of a given product or a software. So this was the first activity of SPM. The second activity of SPM is project estimating. Now whenever we say estimating, we have to estimate time and have to estimate cost. So whenever we have to estimate time, scheduling comes into picture, and whenever we have to estimate cost, budgeting comes into picture. So the role of estimating within a software process actually is kind of a check, so that the predefined deadlines and the budgets are properly established by the management. Now, all software project estimation techniques require that the project should have a proper scope, a proper goal, a fixed goal, a definite goal, a proper scope, so that estimation becomes very easy. Something which is vague, for that you cannot estimate correctly the time and cannot estimate the cost of a vague scope or undefined scope. So there are three broad classes of estimation techniques for software projects. Let's see each one of this. A. Software estimation techniques. B. Size oriented estimation. C. Empirical models. Now the first one is effort estimation techniques. Now what do you mean by effort? Effort is how much of work is being put by the various different members working on a given project to complete it. That is called as effort. And how does the particular effort estimation happens? The project manager creates a matrix. As you can see on the screen, it creates a matrix where the left hand column contains a list of various different system functions, and the top row contains a list of major software tasks. Now how do you get the functions? Is that you have to take the project scope and you have to functionally decompose into sub functions to obtain this particular list of functions. And how do you obtain the tasks? The tasks basically are obtained from the process framework, where you have the various processes being put together, and each of those processes may have like subtasks, task 1, task 2, task 3 and so on. So those tasks make up given processes. So you can obtain the list of tasks by decomposing the process framework. Now the manager, obviously with the assistance of technical staff, estimates the effort required to accomplish each task for each function. So this particular can provide you a good way of going about with effort estimation. So you just form a matrix to see how much of effort is required for each task, to accomplish each task for each function. The second is size oriented estimation. Now whenever we say size oriented estimation, we have to measure the size of each function in the given project. Okay, so if we have a list of functions, okay, how do we get this list of functions? Is we just decompose the entire broad scope of the project and we get the various sub functions. Like in your projects is basically like various modules which are going to be part of your project. So similarly are the functions which are going to be part. So how to actually get the size of each of the function is you can use something called as lines of code. Okay, so lines of code is basically how many lines you require to code the given function. It can take like 500 lines of code. It can take maybe 1000 lines or more than that. That depends on each of the function. Or something called as function points. Now these two metrics, which is lines of code and function points, we will be studying later on more into detail. So right now let's not look actually more into detail at this point in time. So these two things are used to measure the size. The next thing is empirical models. Now, using the results of large population of past projects, an empirical model that relates product size to effort is developed using some kind of statistical technique such as regression analysis. Now, all these models basically let you do analysis so as to you have some kind of estimation of the future projects. So based on past data available, you use a model in which you're going to use something metrics which could be like lines of code or function points, and using that you can do predictions of the upcoming projects, as in how many lines of code that project will require or how many function points that particular project will require based on the past data available. So you use some kind of model, and this model lets you estimate size based on past data, or lets you estimate time based on past data, or lets you estimate cost also based on the past stored data. So the past data helps a lot in predicting the or estimating the necessary parameters. So this is the second activity of SPM. The third activity is risk assessment, risk prioritization and risk management. Now, the goals of these activities are, or this particular activity are, first, to identify the risks that have high likelihood of occurrence. You have to basically identify all the risks which can occur, definitely occur in a given project or during the life cycle of a given project. If this particular risks have high likelihood, then there has to be some kind of measures which have to be taken. So therefore you have to look into or do a proper study so as to identify which risks can come up. Now, once you know which risks can occur, you should also assess what could be the consequence of this risk. If this risk occurs, then what all is going to be affected in a given project? What are the consequences? And the third thing is that you have to develop some kind of plan for mitigating the risks whenever possible. Now, what I mean by mitigating the risk is that you actually make it less severe. You don't totally reduce the risk or remove the risk. You just make it less severe so that less things are being affected and the consequences are not bad. The impact of a risk is not bad on a given project. The next thing is that called scheduling. Now, obviously, scheduling basically is scheduling of various activities. Okay. Now, scheduling with respect to time is very important. So basically, the project schedule is being prepared, and based on the project schedule, we go ahead with executing each of the project tasks or functions. Now, all the human resources which are available, people working on the project, then looking into the effort estimates, and by having the information of risk analysis, what you can do is you can find out which are the tasks which are interdependent, which tasks can run parallelly, which tasks need to be executed first, and which tasks need to be executed last. So based on this, timelines basically can be constructed in a given project schedule. Like for example, in an academic project, there are various timelines given in the project scheduling. So you start with the analysis first, you then decide, come up with a project idea, then you go ahead with developing that idea or looking into more deeper into that particular idea, then you come up with a design so as to how you'll go about with that idea, and you go on with each of the tasks. So scheduling the activities like a project review or something like design, all those things are very much necessary in a project. The next thing is tracking and control. Now, what do you mean by tracking and control is that you have to do proper tracking of a given project. The project has to be properly monitored from time to time, or else the project could run short of, it could fall behind the given time, it could go over budget. So a proper tracking is very much necessary. The control focuses on two major issues. One is quality and change. So whenever we say controlling, we have to control the quality. So the software team must establish proper effective techniques for software quality assurance. So whenever we say that there is, you must have heard the term quality assurance tester. So the person who is a tester looks into the quality assurance. That is very must, because the quality of a product or a project is very important. Now you can actually control the changes by doing something called as configuration management. So whatever changes are being suggested in each of the phases, those particular changes are being implemented, and discussion of the same is actually taken place, or actually takes place within the team, and then finally the team members come to some kind of conclusion regarding the changes to be made. So sometimes some changes are being suggested, but some changes might not be actually implemented. So a proper discussion within the team, the effects of those changes are very much necessary. Like for example, in a academic project, the guides could suggest some kind of changes. The co-guides will suggest some kind of changes, but some changes are possible, some changes could be not possible, because those changes might affect a lot of other components of your project. So therefore, controlling looks into all these aspects, and tracking is very much necessary to actually meet the project's goal. Moving forward to something called as Software Project Management Framework, SPM framework. Now the SPM framework looks something like this ways. All of these particular activities or processes, sub-processes make up the SPM framework. You can see something called as quality, products, standards, tools used, techniques used, the teams working, the skills. So whenever we say people have skills, people have roles, different roles assigned to them. Whenever we say management processes, so management processes are applied to teams, and management processes are applied to the various designations of people. Now you can see something called as milestones in the given diagram. Milestones, activities. Now basically, what is milestone? Milestone is a scheduled event which denotes the completion of some kind of major task. In other words, you can say milestones are the end point of some kind of a process activity. So milestones are used like a flag in the work plan to signify that some work has been completed. So there are milestones, there are activities and so on in the software project management framework. So software project management framework is a process pattern view of project activities. So it focuses more on the communication and the people centric aspects of project management. So how each of these things are interdependent or interrelated to each other. So software project management can be built on this particular framework. These are the points what I have just discussed being put down. The next very important term whenever we say SPM, software project management, comes into picture is project stakeholders. Now what do you mean by project stakeholders? Project stakeholders are all the individuals and organizations that get actively involved in the project or whose interests may be affected as a result of project execution or project completion. So all the people who are directly or indirectly involved in a given project are called as stakeholders. So the people who have some kind of interest or maybe get affected by some of the result of the project execution are actually termed as project stakeholders. Now let's look into what are the different examples of project stakeholders. One is project leader. You know, every project team has a project leader. The various different project team members are also project stakeholders. The upper management. When we say upper management, it could be the organization chairman, organization director, organization chief executive officer, organization chief financial officer, and so on. Next is project customer. Whoever is buying the given project or is going to be buying the end product is called as a project customer. Resource managers, they are also called as human resource managers. You must have heard this term many a times. Also there could be like line managers. Now line managers, basically they run departments. There are also other types of managers who are called as project managers. They run projects. They focus more on individual projects, and line managers more focus on entire department. So there is a hierarchy of managers also in a given organization, and that varies from organization to organization or company to company. And all these people are called as project stakeholders. Next could be any kind of product user group, basically the users of a given product. And last could be the project testers, the testing team, the testers who are going to test the project at various different points in time. All these are actually the project stakeholders who get involved in some way or the other in the given project. The next concept is management spectrum. Now management spectrum actually describes the management of a software project. In simple terms, it is just the 4 P's. The 4 P's which makes up the management spectrum. One is people, second product, third process, fourth project. Now the manager of the project has to control all these P's so that the flow in the progress of the project is very smooth and the final goal is reached. So the manager plays a very important role. So manager basically is like the superhero who does all the management work of the projects. Let's look into each of these P's more into detail. The first one being the people. So people of a project, it includes everybody from manager to developer from customer to end user. Everybody, whoever are actively involved in the project or somewhere, some part at least involved in the project, are called the people get involved in the project. Now the major people, okay, the highlight basically are the developers who are going to be majorly working on the project, because they get involved for more amount of time of a given project, because they are working from the start till the end to develop a given project, or I would say a product. The next thing word is product. Okay, as I have already previously mentioned, the product is the ultimate goal of the project. So the final output obtained is called a product. The next thing is the process. Now previously also I have mentioned that process is nothing but the sub activities involved, or the sub activities which are undertaken to complete a given project are called as processes. So there could be various hundreds of processes which can make up one project. The next thing is the term project. So project is the complete software project which includes everything basically from start till the end. So what it includes? It includes analysis, it includes development, it includes delivery, it includes maintenance, it includes updates and so on. So all these things entirely make up the project. Now the project manager is responsible for managing all of these things, the people, the product, the process and everything. So the project manager actually plays a very important role. So that's it for today's class. I'm